So if I pull around just a little bit, you'll notice that I've got this cylinder shape over here that I already set up as an instance when I was blocking this shape in. So that shape's taken care of. But for this back little box that we have here, what I want to do is I want to apply edge control to it, but I also want to cut a couple little grooves into it just to kind of make it look like it's got some part lines or some sort of a construction seam to it. So if I go ahead and isolate the selection, you'll notice I also went ahead and deleted out this back face. Going back and forth, we don't really need it. You're not going to see that face in the final object. So to quickly just add some edge control, we're just going to go ahead and throw down our connect. Go ahead and just slide this up and down. Go ahead and ring select these. And we're going to add two here and go ahead and pinch a couple edges. Press OK. And then ring select along here. Very similar to how we would do for a box, except it's got kind of a little bit of a flared out side there. Let's go ahead and press OK. That's probably going to work out all right. Now I'm going to go into the top view, and one thing that you'll notice is that the distance between these vertices up top here, right around in there, is a little bit different than the vertice distance between here. And so what will happen is if we go ahead and hit Turbo Smooth and isoline, it's really gradual, and it's not quite as noticeable. Sometimes when you get into a little bit more complex shapes, you'll start to notice it. But one of the principal things that you need to remember is that if I want to get a nice hard edge along this surface here, we need to make sure that the distance between the vertices here is very similar to the distance along down here at the bottom. So all I really need to do is just go ahead and go into a top view, and I'm just going to kind of scale these inward just a little bit. And so now we're going to get a much more uniform bevel along that cornered edge. And so that's just something that you're going to want to think about anytime that you're doing an angled box shape like this. So to go ahead and make these little cut lines, what I want to do is I want to have some cut lines that basically run along the back of this box shape and are going to kind of meet up right along where we've got this light housing, where that's ultimately going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to a side view. I'm going to go ahead and add three edges. I'm just going to go ahead and right click connect just right around in the middle of the box. I'm going to set that to 3, and I'm not going to have any pinch or any slide just yet by default. But if I go ahead and exit isolation mode, I can go ahead and add those in. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of looking, where do I want these cut lines to be? If I wanted them to be a little bit further apart, I could pinch them, or I could go ahead and use the slide tool if I wanted them to go up and down. For this case, I'm just going to go ahead and give them a little bit of a pinch so that it kind of looks like these cut lines are going to go in right around in the middle somewhere where the lights are actually going to meet up. So I'm going to go ahead and press OK, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that. So now I've got these three cuts. If I go ahead and pull out, you'll see what I'm talking about. And what I want to do in order to make just sort of like a little bit of a groove cut line in there is I'm going to go ahead and grab all three of those edges. I'm going to go ahead and make these adjustments all three at the same time, which is going to make it a lot easier rather than having to do each one by one. I'm just going to go ahead and right click, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and chamfer. And since it's along a flat surface, the chamfer is not really going to alter the silhouette as far as the straight up and down. You're not going to be able to tell any sort of difference to the silhouette there. So I'm just going to go ahead and chamfer. I'm going to make them fairly thin, so I'm just going to bring that chamfer amount down just a little bit. Go ahead and press OK. And I'm going to go ahead and grab any one of the border edges here and go ahead and do a ring selection so that I can grab all of the inner edges here. Go ahead and hold down Control, click on Polygon, and that's going to grab all of those polygons that make up what will be those cuts. And so if I want to go ahead and zoom in just on one of them, I'm going to go ahead and right click and choose Bevel. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bevel these inward just a small amount. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the height and the outline amount and just kind of pull the camera back and forth a little bit and kind of get an idea for how deep or how far in I want these little cut lines to go. And since I've got all the polygons selected as I'm doing this, it's going to go ahead and do this operation on all of them. I'm just going to go ahead and pull these in just a bit. Go ahead and press OK. And so there will be one last little bit of cleanup that we'll want to do. We'll want to go ahead and grab these little extra polygons that it created on the inside, because just like the back of it, we don't want any of these extra polygons that aren't going to be necessary for creating the shape. So I'll go ahead and grab these, all three of these here, and go ahead and delete those. And so now to kind of finish this up, I'm going to go ahead and go into another side view, go ahead and switch to edge mode, and I'm going to go ahead and just grab all of the edge selections and go ahead and do a loop selection. And if I zoom in, I'm going to go ahead and right click extrude and give it just a small amount of a width extrude here, extrude amount rather, and that's going to give all of these edges their own individual amount of edge control. So you can kind of see I've got my original 4 that I had, and so this is going to add 2 on either side to give it that nice edge control for that little bit of a cut. So if I go back into Turbo Smooth and just kind of pull this back, you can see the results. I added this nice little cut throughout all 3 of those edges that we kind of blocked in, to begin with.